Alaska is a land of incredible size. Many call it the last frontier. This name fits Alaska very well. It suggests a place of adventure and untamed beauty. Alaska sits in the far northwest of North America. This location gives it long, dark winters and summers with endless daylight. The state is known for its stunning landscapes. Think of towering mountains covered in snow. Imagine vast forests stretching for miles. Picture sparkling glaciers moving slowly to the sea. Alaska has more coastline than all other US states combined. This long coastline is home to many types of marine life. People come from all over the world to see it. They want to experience its raw, natural charm. Alaska is also a land of striking contrasts. You can find icy fields and active volcanoes. There are calm fjords and powerful rivers. The state is home to huge national parks. These parks protect its precious wilderness and diverse wildlife. Animals like bears, moose and caribou roam freely here. Eagles soar high in the Alaskan sky. This wildness is a big part of Alaska's special appeal. It draws people who seek something different. The allure of Alaska is timeless and strong. It speaks to the human spirit of exploration. Many thousands of years ago, the first people came to Alaska. They crossed a land bridge called Beringia. These early people were brave hunters and gatherers. They followed herds of animals like mammoths and bison. They adapted to the cold and harsh environment. Over centuries, these first Alaskans spread out. They formed many different groups. Each group had its own unique culture. Some well-known groups include the Tlingit, Haida, and Athabaskan peoples. The Yupik and Kupik peoples lived in the west. The Unagaks, or Aleut, inhabited the Aleutian Islands. The Inupiat made their homes in the far north. These groups developed distinct languages and traditions. The indigenous peoples of Alaska had a deep connection to nature. They respected the land, the sea, and the animals. Their lives revolved around the seasons. They hunted caribou, moose, and seals. They fished for salmon and halibut. They gathered berries and plants. Everything they needed came from the environment around them. Their skills were amazing. The legacy of Alaska's first peoples is still very strong today. In 1741, Russian explorers reached Alaska's shores. Vitus Bering, a Danish explorer working for Russia, led the expedition. This marked the first European contact with this part of the world. They were looking for new lands and resources. What they found was a wealth of sea otters. The fur of the sea otter was very valuable. It was called soft gold because it was so prized in China and Europe. The news of abundant furs quickly spread. Russian fur traders called Promyshleniki began to arrive. They came in search of riches from the sea otter pelts. They established small outposts along the coast. This had a big impact on the sea otter population. It also greatly affected the lives of the native Alaskan peoples. The traders often forced Aleut men to hunt for them. This period was difficult for many native communities. The Russians gradually expanded their presence. In 1784, Grigory Shelikov established the first permanent Russian settlement on Kodiak Island. Later, in 1799, the Russian-American Company was formed. This company received a charter from the Tsar. The Russian era in Alaska lasted for over a century. By the mid-1800s, Russia began to think about selling its Alaskan territory. In 1867, the United States bought Alaska from Russia. The price was $7.2 million. Secretary of State William H. Seward negotiated the deal. He strongly believed in Alaska's potential. He saw its strategic importance and its resources. The treaty was signed on March 30th, 1867. Many Americans did not understand the purchase. They thought Alaska was just a frozen wasteland. They called it Seward's Folly or Seward's Icebox. Some newspapers made fun of the deal. They said it was a waste of money. Little did they know how wrong they were. Seward patiently explained his reasons. He spoke of fisheries, furs, and even gold. The official transfer ceremony took place in Sitka on October 18, 1867. The Russian flag was lowered and the American flag was raised. This day is now celebrated as Alaska Day. For many years after the purchase, Alaska was largely ignored. It was governed by the military, then the Treasury Department. There was little development or settlement from the US side. However, Seward's vision eventually proved to be correct. The discovery of gold in the late 1800s changed everything. Suddenly, Alaska was seen as a land of opportunity. Seward's belief in Alaska's future was finally justified. The late 1800s brought exciting news from Alaska. Gold was discovered. This sparked a series of famous gold rushes. The most well-known was the Klondike Gold Rush. It started in 1896 in Canada's Yukon Territory. But many prospectors traveled through Alaska to reach the gold fields. Towns like Skagway and Dyea boomed overnight. Thousands of hopeful miners, called stampeders, poured into the region. They faced incredible hardships on their journey. They dreamed of striking it rich quickly. These stampeders had to carry a year's worth of supplies. They climbed steep mountain passes like the Chilkoot and White Pass. Many people suffered from cold, hunger, and exhaustion. Some did not survive the difficult trek, but the dream of gold kept them going. They built makeshift boats to travel down the Yukon River. The journey was dangerous and long. Only a few actually found great wealth, but the stories of adventure spread far. Alaska itself also had major gold strikes. Gold was found in Nome in 1899. This led to another huge rush. The gold rushes had a lasting impact on Alaska. In the early 20th century, Alaska was still a U.S. territory. It was remote and sparsely populated. Transportation was a major challenge. Most travel was by boat or dog sled. This isolation became a serious concern during World War II. After Japan attacked Pearl Harbor in 1941, Alaska's strategic location became very clear. The decision was made to build the Alaska Highway. Construction began in March 1942. The highway stretched for about 1,500 miles. Amazingly, the initial Pioneer Road was completed in just over 8 months. The highway connected Alaska to the rest of North America by land. The construction of the Alaska Highway was a turning point. For many years, Alaskans wanted their territory to become a state. The movement for statehood began in the early 1900s. Alaskans felt they deserved more self-government. They wanted to elect their own governor and have voting representation in the U.S. Congress. As a territory, they had limited political power. Important decisions about Alaska were often made in Washington, D.C. Many people felt this was not fair. They worked hard for change. The journey to statehood was long and challenging. There were many debates and setbacks. Some people in the U.S. Congress opposed Alaska statehood. They worried about its small population and vast, undeveloped land. They also worried about the cost of providing services, but Alaskans were persistent. Leaders like James Wickersham and Ernest Gruening championed the cause. They argued that Alaska had matured and was ready for statehood. A major step forward came in 1955. The Alaska Constitutional Convention was held. Delegates gathered at the University of Alaska in Fairbanks. They drafted a state constitution. The people of Alaska then voted to approve the Constitution. Finally, in 1958, the U.S. Congress passed the Alaska Statehood Act. President Dwight D. Eisenhower signed it into law. On January 3, 1959, Alaska officially became the 49th state of the United States. Statehood brought new opportunities and responsibilities. For many years, Alaskans wanted their territory to become a state. The movement for statehood began in the early 1900s. Alaskans felt they deserved more self-government. They wanted to elect their own governor and have voting representation in the U.S. Congress. As a territory, they had limited political power. Important decisions about Alaska were often made in Washington, D.C. Many people felt this was not fair. They worked hard for change. The journey to statehood was long and challenging. There were many debates and setbacks. Some people in the U.S. Congress opposed Alaska statehood. They worried about its small population and vast, undeveloped land. They also worried about the cost of providing services, but Alaskans were persistent. Leaders like James Wickersham and Ernest Gruening championed the cause. They argued that Alaska had matured and was ready for statehood. A major step forward came in 1955. The Alaska Constitutional Convention was held. Delegates gathered at the University of Alaska in Fairbanks. They drafted a state constitution. The people of Alaska then voted to approve the Constitution. Finally, in 1958, the U.S. Congress passed the Alaska Statehood Act. President Dwight D. Eisenhower signed it into law. On January 3, 1959, Alaska officially became the 49th state of the United States. Statehood brought new opportunities and responsibilities. The Alaska Native peoples are the original inhabitants of this land. Their cultures are ancient and diverse. For thousands of years, they lived in harmony with nature. They developed rich traditions, languages, and ways of life. When Europeans and Americans arrived, native communities faced many challenges. Their lands were taken, their populations suffered from new diseases, their traditional ways of life were disrupted. Despite these hardships, Alaska native cultures have endured. They have shown incredible resilience and strength. In the mid-20th century, native leaders began to organize. They fought for their rights and their lands. A major milestone was the Alaska Native Claims Settlement Act, ANCSA. Congress passed this act in 1971. ANCSA settled long-standing land claims. It transferred about 44 million acres of land to native corporations. It also provided monetary compensation. Today, Alaska Native communities are vibrant and active. They play a vital role in the state's economy and governance. Many native people are leaders in business, politics, and education. There is a strong movement to preserve and revitalize native languages. The contributions of Alaska native peoples enrich the entire state. Today, Alaska stands as a remarkable state. It is known for its breathtaking natural beauty and unique cultural heritage. The state's economy has evolved over time. Oil was discovered at Prudhoe Bay in 1968. This led to the construction of the Trans-Alaska Pipeline. Oil has been a major source of revenue for the state. Fishing is another important industry. Alaska's waters provide abundant salmon, halibut, and crab. Tourism also brings many visitors each year. Alaska continues to be the last frontier. It attracts people seeking adventure and open spaces. Its national parks are among the largest in the world. Places like Denali National Park and Glacier Bay National Park are famous. They offer chances to see wildlife and stunning scenery. Outdoor activities are very popular. Hiking, fishing, kayaking, and skiing are enjoyed by residents and visitors. The wilderness remains a powerful draw. The state is a melting pot of cultures. People from all over the world have made Alaska their home. This diversity adds to its vibrancy. Alaska native cultures continue to thrive. Cities like Anchorage, Fairbanks, and Juneau are modern centers. They offer a range of amenities and opportunities. With its rich history and stunning landscapes, Alaska remains a land of wonder. Its journey is ongoing.